This is 21-year-old Andrea Rodriguez Avila. She was a junior at Jones College. Her family, along with several members of the Rice community, are grieving her loss after she was shot and killed inside her dorm on Monday. We understand processing traumatic events can be especially difficult. Joining me now live is psychologist Julie Kaplow to talk about how you can help young adults process traumatic events. Julie, good morning. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
How important is it for us to talk about this, especially with our young ones? When we experience a traumatic experience such as this, we tend to experience a lot of different emotions. We have a lot of different feelings. How do we have these tough conversations?
It's such a great question, Zach. And, what we've learned over time is that it is incredibly important to be openly talking about the event. What we find is that the more we can talk about it openly, the more we can process those feelings, the better off we are. It's also important to note that a traumatic event is subjective. So not everyone will experience post-traumatic stress after an event, but we know that it's still very important to be able to talk about it openly, especially to recognize signs when someone might need some additional help.
And is it safe to say, one, not everyone will experience that traumatic response, but if you do experience that response, it likely will be different from the next person?
Absolutely. And, the symptoms of post-traumatic stress can look different depending on the person's developmental stage, or even the experience itself of having those symptoms can be different. So, for example, with re-experiencing, that's one of the major symptoms. That can look like nightmares. That can look like flashbacks. Avoidance is another important symptom, and that can look like not wanting to talk about what happened. It can also be not even wanting to think about what happened. So the severity of the symptoms and how frequently they're occurring and even how they present can look very different.
And Julie, for those who have experienced traumatic experiences previously, an event like this can be triggering.
Yes, absolutely, especially if the event involved a tragic loss. So we know that when individuals experience both trauma and grief, that can be incredibly overwhelming. And sometimes the trauma symptoms actually interfere with the ability to process their grief. So that's when we really want to pay close attention and determine whether someone might need an evaluation or even therapy.
I want to talk specifically about young adults, college students, and I know this might be really tough for loved ones, family members to monitor their student or their young adult, being that they might be off to college, they might not be around them. How can a parent in a situation like this monitor their children in a way that if they determine they need help, they can seek help for them?
Sure. One of the most important things, again, to look for is that open communication. So if the individual is really withdrawn, is not talking to anybody, is spending a lot of time alone, if they're engaging in more risk-taking behaviors, if they're really not communicating, or if the opposite is happening where they are constantly crying and tearful, waking up crying, going to bed crying, those are the kinds of behaviors that we would be looking for. And certainly if the person expresses any wish to die or harm themselves, that's when we would really want to be sure to get them some intervention.
And if there's one takeaway from this conversation, it's to let folks know there is help out there.
Absolutely. There are lots of resources in our community. UT Health Science Center has a trauma and resilience program. The Lucene Center for Trauma and Grief provides no-cost teletherapy to individuals up to age 21 who've experienced trauma and loss. And you can also, of course, speak with your physician or your insurance company about who actually does trauma-informed care.
Okay. Julie Kaplow, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you. We appreciate your time so much.